Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do tonight is review the stuff that we talked about last week, just to kind of give you another quick overview of how these tools work, and see if you had any questions as you were working this week, if anything came up that that was confusing or difficult. So I'm going to go ahead and create a polygon cube. There we are. That'll do for a starter. So like I said last week, we want to use, there are a lot of modeling tools. You can get most of the way there with the three that we talked about last week. The first was the extrude tool, where we can select the face and then edit mesh and extrude, and then we can take this face and pull it out and create geometry. The other thing is, I don't think I mentioned this last week, you can extrude edges as well. So if you select an edge and extrude, you can also extrude edges, and it will create geometry for you. The thing you want to be careful of, this can be a very handy tool. The thing you want to be careful of is you don't want to create what's known as non-manifold geometry. And that's just a fancy term for you've got geometry inside the overall shell of your object. You don't want to have faces hidden inside the object because it'll cause problems at render time. It will, if it's an object that's going to deform, it will deform unpredictably. You want to be very, very careful that that you don't do that. But let's say we wanted to put like a little opening here on this box. We could select this. We could extrude. Oops, let's go up instead. Extrude this way, and then we could just close it off, and then we'd have a little open area. We could do this a couple different ways. We could extrude a face over like this, or we could do it. There's another way we can go. I'll show you that in just a little bit. I'm going to go back to faces real quick, and we'll extrude this face and pull this out. There's a little pop-up that comes up when you do one of these operations in a lot of cases, not in every case, but in a lot of cases you get this little pop-up floating window that comes up when you do this. And this will allow you to change values. So if, for example, if we click on local translate and we middle mouse click and drag, we can move this out without even touching these controls here. Or if we wanted it to be a certain length, let's say we want it to be 2.5 units, we can just type that in and it'll be that length. If you want to offset it, you can click on that and it'll create an offset, and that's you know, it enlarges it or shrinks it. If you want more than one section in your extrude, that's what divisions is for. We can add additional divisions. So if you wanted to, when you every time you extrude, if you want this to extrude 2 sections, let's say, you know, you're making, I don't know, table legs or something, and you want to be able to mold it in without using a insert edge loop or a multi-cut, you can do that here as well. There's also some options here in this little option pop-up. You can select the translate, rotate, scale values, offset value. Keep faces together is usually the setting that you want because we want to have our entire selection extruded as one piece, and so forth. So that's, if you want to make some changes, you can click on this and it'll you can play around with those values. What I recommend, like we talked about last week, is just make stuff. You know, don't try and make the thing that you need initially. Just create a polygon cube and extrude some faces, insert some edge loops, use the multi-cut, and just kind of get comfortable with the tools. And your actual modeling task will go much faster if you spend I don't know, a half hour, 45 minutes, just kind of beating up on some poor defenseless cube. So, so that's the extrude tool. We can go ahead and close that. Click off of it and that will go away. The other tool, one of the other tools we talked about was the insert edge loop tool. And that's under mesh tools. I'm going to insert edge loop. And remember, this is a click and hold tool. Once you've got it selected, you're going to click and hold on an edge that's perpendicular to the direction you want your edge loop to go. And drag back and forth to position it. And when you've got it where you want it, just let go and it'll create some new geometry for you. It took these 4 polygons here and split them, so now that there's 8. Same thing up here. You can go up here like this and get up towards the top. Let go of that, and then we've got this new geometry here. So these are all new individual faces that we could, and then we could take one of these. Whoops, that isn't what I wanted to do at all. We're going to go up here to edit mesh and extrude. And oops, nope, sorry, my bad. Go to face. Let's undo that. There we go. So why did I undo that?
Because it created that geometry thing you were talking about.
Created hidden geometry, didn't it? See those little marks right there? See how those little squares are right on top of those edges? That means there's hidden geometry. So as soon as I see that, there's some right there as well. Actually, all along this edge.
The dots should not be in the lines.
The dots should never be on the line.
Right.
Never, never, ever. So I'm just going to undo that until they go away, and then I'm good to go. I know that I don't have any hidden geometry anymore. I can grab that face, edit mesh, extrude, and there we go. They call that a teachable moment. Just a nice way of saying, hey, you screwed up. So now tell them why you screwed up. Okay. So now that we got geometry rocking, we can start pulling out different pieces and bits. Finally, our last tool was our multi-cut tool, the ones we talked about last week. Multi-cut is like a little slicing device. This is the one where we set points as we go around an object. Place them along the edge at wherever you like. They can be directly across from each other, or they can be quite a ways away, and then connect them up so that you're all the way around the surface, and then hit return, and it will create that slice for you. So these are all still quads. They're still all faces that are made up of 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've still got the quads that we prefer, but unlike the insert edge loop, everything's not even. So we could actually, if we wanted to have this piece extrude out, we could now go edit mesh extrude here and pull that out, and we've got a nice wedge-shaped piece that we didn't have to alter anything at the bottom. That make sense? They all good? Pull that out, extrude that one. Select our offset, maybe offset it down a little bit, just a little bit. 0.2, that's way too much. Wait.
What was that shortcut to use the last tool again?
To use which?
The last tool you used. What was that?
Last tool is the last tool is Y.
Why?
To select the last tool you used, you hit Y. To repeat the last action that you did, the last command you gave, that's G.
So you just hit G, just hit the letter, nothing else, right?
Yeah, just the letter. Oops, that's too much. 0.03. No. Yeah, there we go. Get that, move that out. There we go. I have no idea what I'm making, by the way. Just like random art stuff.
Spaceship.
Although, you know, I went to the San Jose Museum of Art this weekend. This could easily be in there. I saw some stuff. I went, really?
Take us.
Looks like a prototype X-wing.
A little bit, yeah, could be. We'll just pick another letter of the alphabet. You know, call this the Q wing or something. I don't know. They already used all the good letters. You know, X, Y, whatever. Okay. So something else you might want to play with. We talked about this guy right here. Anytime you use one of these tools, for example, the extrude tool, it's got the option box, right? This little box here is always a good idea to kind of explore a little bit. So if I click on, instead of just selecting extrude, if I roll over the box and click, it's going to give me my extrude options. So this is, a lot of these are similar to what you see in the pop-up when it comes up. But let's say I wanted to have, 5 divisions all the time. I can just set it in here and then extrude that. And when I pull it up, there's 5 cross sections. So if I wanted to do that, that'd be fine. And then I still have this pop-up window that comes up. And if I wanted to change that back, just change it back to 1. And we're all good. So the option box is always a good thing to explore. I strongly recommend that anytime you see one of these, you should roll over it at least to check it out and see what it says. It may not be anything you want or need to use, but at least you'll get familiar with the interface. You'll know what's there. Yeah.
Oh, the extrusion tool that you use to make the black panels from a single line.
Yeah, I grabbed an edge and pulled those up, and that's what.
Oh, do you pull them up?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you pull them up at an angle.
I just pull them straight up.
No, but can you pull them up at an angle?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you bet. In fact, let me show you how that works. So the question is, can you extrude at an angle? And the answer is absolutely. So I'm going to grab this edge, and again, edit mesh and extrude. And you've got, here's the manipulator. So this is the universal manipulator. It shows up immediately by default anytime you create an extrusion. Okay. So there are 2 modes for this. One is the normal, the face normal or the edge normal, and the other is world coordinates. So the default is it comes up oriented to the object that you've just created, and that's called a normal. A normal actually is the thing. Every polygon has a normal on it. The normal is the side of the polygon that will accept color or texture, and it will render when you render the object. Okay, that's what it is. It's, is there a mnemonic to remember? No, it's just it's called a normal. Those are basically the parts that you can see. The other side of the polygon is generally not visible to the renderer. Generally speaking, you can make both sides. You can have 2-sided faces if you specify. But the normal is the side of the poly that the renderer can see. So this is now oriented to the local coordinates, the coordinates of the object that I just created. If I wanted these handles to be oriented to the world coordinates, these coordinates down here, I've got this little dial that appears kind of offset from the universal manipulator. If I click on that, it flips the controls around so that they're now oriented to the world coordinates. But if you wanted to pull it out at an angle, you can do one of 2 things. You can either leave it like this and then just grab a handle and pull it out. See, so now it's at an angle. Or the other thing you can do is get the world coordinates and then either go up and then to the side, or just grab it in the center and just pull out this way. is remember the handles will move on one axis, only on the axis that you've selected, but for translation and scale, if you grab in the center, it moves on all axes. So the tricky part about doing this is that without knowing it, you might move it off into the distance. So if I look over here, see how it's kind of gone out at an angle a little bit? It's hard to tell that that's what's happening from this view, but if I take and drag it over here, then it's way over to this side. So you might have to move it a couple of times to get it exactly where you want it, but you can absolutely move on an angle. Yeah.
How, like, say one of the boxes that you extruded out,
Mm-hmm.
you wanted to scale just that after you've already clicked away from it. How do you just scale that without?
So like if I wanted to scale this,
Yeah. So if you want to expand it or.
sure. So once it's deselected, all you need to do is just pick it as whatever object you want to manipulate, in this case the face, right? And get your scale tool. Select your scale tool, scale it down. Now if you just scale the entire face, it's going to affect the other face that it's attached to.
Oh,
So if you want to scale just this edge right here,
Right.
select it as an edge. Select that edge, this edge, scale.
like for example, I made a little hand here, and I'm
Uh-huh.
trying to get one of the limbs thicker,
Uh-huh.
and when I try to scale it, it's scaling the entire hand.
You have to select the component. You can't select the entire object. You have to select either the face or the edge or whatever. Face, edge, vertex, any one of those three can be scaled or moved in order to get the size and shape that you want. Now I mentioned normals a few minutes ago. You probably noticed that on these faces that I created, there's a gray side and a black side. So the gray side is the normal side. This is the side that the camera can see. The black side is the side that the camera can't see. And those colors are used just as an indicator for you. It's a sort of a visual cue that when I render this, these faces are not going to be visible to the camera. So I can extrude edges out, and I can actually flip this normal if I wanted to make this like a little box, kind of open box like you'd get at IKEA, and then have to take home and put together. If I want to have that kind of be a little open box, I could take this normal here and flip it around. It's really pretty easy to do. But it's something to be aware of. If you see a face that's black like this, it means that when you render it, it's not going to show up. It won't receive a surface the way that the rest of the object will. Yeah.
Oh, sometimes when I delete something, it'll be a little piece left of it and you can't get rid of it. I learned a trick on how to get rid of it earlier. How can you just simply get rid of something without it leaving residual pieces?
So usually what you want to do is it gets down to careful selection, because it's easy. There's a variety of answers. It depends on how your selection is set up, how your select tool is set to behave. The default for the select tool is any place on screen that you drag over that contains faces. Any faces that fall within that selection box will be selected, whether you can see them or not. So like if you got a sphere and you grab a bunch of faces on this side, the faces that fall within that selection box on the other side of the sphere will also be selected. Okay, that's the default. There are also settings where they're called camera-based selection, where you can only select faces that the camera can see. So if you're on this side of the sphere and you're selecting faces, because the camera can't see around to the back of the sphere, it won't select them. And that can be really handy too. So depending upon how your selection is set up, that a lot of times will determine exactly what you can or can't select. Usually if I end up with something that I can't select, I'll go to Faces, other than, being faces instead of like object or edge, and then try and get them that way. But I'd love to hear your trick as well.
Okay. If I can remember how I did it.
Okay, good.
Oh, wait.
Okay, so a couple of,
Oh,
okay.
outline. Little windows outline.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's right.
Yeah, the outliner is a great tool. It's really underutilized. I actually don't talk about it enough. The outliner is a window in which it shows all of the elements in your scene. And you can select things and delete them, and you can parent them into each other and create relationships and group things together. It's a terrific tool that doesn't get used near enough. At least by me. I should use it more than I do. Okay, so I got a few other tools I want to show you real quick. These are pretty awesome. I'm going to get rid of my proto spaceship here. I know you're all heartbroken. Delete. And I'm going to create a new polygon cube. And this time I'm going to make it 3 by 3 by 3. And we'll create this. So it's like a little Rubik's Cube, kind of, only not really. So there's a few tools that can come in handy depending on where you find yourself in the modeling process. So for example, if I go in here and I'm working away and I take this face and I delete it because I think I'm going to need a hole that runs down the center of my object. And then later on I go, oh, you know what? I don't need that. You can do this. You can close this hole in a number of ways. You could grab an edge and extrude it across and then merge points. But there's a much faster way, and that's with the bridge tool. The bridge tool is right here, and it's really excellent for closing holes. And all you need to do is select a couple of edges, like these two, for example. These two edges on either side of each other. You go to Edit Mesh and Bridge, and it'll drop a new polygon in there for you, and it's selectable and extrudable and everything that a regular polygon will do. Oops, we're still on 5. 0. I should fix my extrude tool. Down to 1. Apply. And extrude. Perfect. So there's the bridge tool. You can close things up. You want to be really careful though. Let's say I had this. I cut these two faces out. And can I bridge across? If I get these two edges, can I go to here and then to here and go Edit Mesh and Bridge? Absolutely. Do I have a problem now?
Yeah, from behind you still have an opening in the back.
Nope.
Oh.
It's closed up. Is there a problem right here? There's only 2 choices, yes or no.
Yes.
Yes, why?
Now you're gonna tell me why.
You
I had a 50-50 chance on that one.
did, and you chose correctly. We have a problem because there's an end gun.
You can't see the face though.
Where's the end gun?
Can't see it because you hit the little dot.
Nope. Nope. It's right there. Right there on the screen.
And the whole face is the end gun?
This whole face is now an end gun.
How-
Because if we look at vertexes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So if you bridge gaps like that and create end guns?
If you bridge gaps across multiple polygons, you can create end guns. Can we fix this? Absolutely. How would we fix it?
Command Z.
That's one way. Yeah. There's actually a quicker way. We can get our multi-cut tool and just go from here over to this point right there. Come on. You know you want to. There you go. Come on. What are you doing to me? Delete. All right. It's being a punk monkey. All right. I don't know why it's misbehaving. You can use the multi-cut tool across there. The other thing you could do is do the Z as you were describing, and you could extrude down, and then use our next tool, which is a really cool tool, and that is the target weld tool. So here's target weld. So I'm going to grab this edge right there. No, I don't want that anymore. Thank you. Just that. And we're going to go Mesh Tools and extrude, or Edit Mesh, Edit Mesh Extrude. We're going to pull this down a little bit, not all the way to there. And then we're going to go to Vertexes, so we can grab things. And then under Mesh Tools, we're going to grab Target Weld. And the way this works is you grab one vertex, click on it, and then you go to the vertex you want to connect it to, and you click on that vertex, and it will connect those two up, merge them together to create a single vertex. So I can click on this one, and I come down here and click. Come on. Damn.
Sounds easy.
Being a pain in the butt tonight, I'm telling you. Let's, maybe it's on the same plane, it doesn't like it. We'll do it this way. It's a better demo anyway.
You pivot it.
Mesh tool, target weld. One there, and one there. Come on. You've got to be kidding me. This worked beautifully in my office. One. Oh, there, that's what I was doing.
You gonna hold it?
Yeah, operator error. So click and hold, drag to the other vertex, boom. Glues those two together.
It's faster than multi.
There's this one, that, boom. Now come back in here with edge, get that, mesh tools, and where are we? Edit mesh, edit mesh bridge. Equal number of border. Yep, I thought I had to. Thank you. There we go. Select that. Mesh. Edit mesh. Bridge.
Are
How do
you
you-
shift selecting, Paul?
Sorry?
Are you shift selecting?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be. I don't know what's going on. Oh, I'm still in the bridge tool. Sorry. My bad. 1, 2. Are you selected? You should be selected.
Yes. You're stuck in the
Yep.
target weld tool.
There we go. Mesh. Bridge. Boom. Yay.
Would you have extra edges where you extruded
No, I backed it up.
vertical line?
What's that?
On the vertical line? Oh no, because you target welded the
Yeah,
vertex.
I target welded.
Okay.
Right, so I did the target weld first, and then did the bridge between the newly welded edge and the existing edge. And now we've got, these are all quads.
Okay.
So we're good to go. This is another one. This is a really cool tool. This one you kind of want to use in one of the orthographic views. If you use it in the perspective view, it'll work just fine, but it creates polygons that are kind of weird and morphy. They'll change shape on you as you move them around. So I'm gonna show it to you here in the front view, and then you can move these things around, use them however you like once you've actually created them. And this tool is called the Quad Draw, and this allows you to draw quad shapes. And you start by just placing 4 vertices anywhere in the space, and you're good to go. Then you go in the middle of the 4 verts that you created, hold down the Shift key, and it'll show you a projection of what that quad is going to look like. And then when you click, it creates the quad, creates a face for you. So now that face exists out in your environment. And there you are. It's right there. Object. Select that guy. So you move them around. If you're not careful when you move them around, they do all kinds of weird shit. Object. You got to get out of that. Go to object mode.
Oh, could you create another one and connect them?
Absolutely. Connect
Right.
quads.
The quads.
Yeah. Yeah, you bet. I'm going to go ahead. Face. Select this face. Delete that. Come over here.
And is that the best way to create your walls for your?
No.
Oh,
No, the best way to create walls is just to create a polygon plane. You know, they're under create polygon primitive. You've got planes.
I tried that.
Yeah?
Just before.
There it is right there. Right there. Actually, I'm in the object mode. Now there it is right there. And then we can scale this, make it whatever size you like. By the way, when you're creating your walls, the last thing you want to do is have only one subdivision width and only one subdivision height. You don't want to have a single polygon that's a gigantic wall. And the reason for that is, remember that all of our quads are actually triangles. There's 2 triangles in each quad. In order for Maya to render the polygons that it sees in the scene, if it doesn't see the entire polygon, it has to be able to calculate where that polygon might end so that it can draw it. Okay? So if you've got a gigantic polygon, it can only see a little tiny portion of it. It can't tell where the edges of it are. It can't extrapolate where the edges of it are. So it just won't draw it. It'll just vanish. We've had students in here before that had a gigantic floor and a character was skating along and all was wonderful. You know, as long as they were skating along the edge, then they skated off into the center and the camera followed them. The ice just vanished. And the real crime there was that the skater didn't immediately fall, but plummet into the center of the earth. But it was because it was one gigantic polygon. If you have multiple polygons covering that plane, then Maya can tell where each small polygon is and then extrapolate where all the others are in relation to it. And it'll still draw that surface. Does that make sense? It'll make more sense when we get into rendering. But for now, just take me at my word. Don't use one giant polygon for a wall. You know, break it up into 3 or 4. You know, we can do like 5 each here. And then it's, you know, we can make it as big as we like. Just scale it way up. And as long as Maya can see most of one polygon, let's just scale it over here. So it's a little easier. So we can make it like this. And if this is our camera, Maya can see this edge and this edge from the camera's view, and it can extrapolate where the rest of it is. So if we made it 1, made it just a single polygon, now it doesn't know where the edges are. It wouldn't render it. Okay? So, but that's the easiest way to make your walls. It's just a polygon plane. All right. So now back to our quad draw. Let's do one on each, one in the front, one in the side, and we'll weld them together. How's that sound? Mesh tools, quad draw. Here we go. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. Into the center, hold down Shift, click. There's 1. We'll come over here to the side. We'll do another one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold down Shift, click. There we are. And now we'll come up here. Get out of quad draw because we don't want that anymore. And we'll move around a little bit. actually, I'm going to rotate this one 90 degrees on the X. Channel box. Close enough. Let's do that. Come on back. There we are. Okay. By the way, if you ever end up, so let's say we're working over here. Object. Oops. Object mode. We're working over here. We're trying to get to this polygon right here, and we're rotating our view around. The view is getting kind of squirrely on us. Select that object and hit F, and it'll center the selected object in the screen. And then when you rotate, it'll rotate a little nicer for you. So target weld, vertex, mesh tools, target weld. There we go. One here, drag over to there. Boom. One here, drag over to there. Boom. Now the other thing you can do, again, you've got your option box here. So what are the options in the tool settings for target weld? There's really only one. I mean, you can set up a keyboard shortcut or reference the keyboard shortcut. If you want to set it up so that the first vertex you select doesn't move over here, but they kind of meet in the middle, you can select center. And then when I grab this one and grab that one, it'll show you where it's going to meet. See that little dot in the center? And it takes both of the vertexes and moves them towards each other. So sometimes you want one moving to the other. Sometimes you may want them to merge to the center. The other thing it tells us here is you can leave this at target, and if you middle mouse click and drag, it'll move it to the center. And if you left mouse click and drag, it'll move the other one over. So you can have the functionality of both depending upon which mouse button you're using. And then, yeah, depending on where they're positioned in space and whatever, it's a sort of an angled wall. That make sense, gang? Okay. So with our object here, we're going to take, oops, go back, object mode. We're going to take this guy, right, object mode, take you, and delete you. And I'm going to turn on, there's a draw. Maya's starting to get hinky. I've been doing a bunch of crazy stuff in there. It's going to start complaining here in a minute or two. So as you're modeling away, you might find that you've got some additional geometry that you don't need. So here's what I was talking about before. See how when I rotate the view, it's not rotating around this object anymore? I'm going to select it and hit F. It centers it in the view, and now when I rotate, it rotates around that object. So the keyboard command F centers whatever's selected in the view. So you can, if your rotation is starting to act weird, just select whatever you're trying to look around and hit F, and it'll move it right to the center of the view, and you'll be able to get around it easily.
It doesn't matter if it's like in a different spot in the world and not at 0, 0.
What's that?
So it doesn't matter if the object is in like a different spot.
Oh, no, it doesn't matter at all. It's just, it's taking whatever you selected and putting it in the center of that particular view. So yeah, and then it'll rotate around. It's not a 0, 0 thing. I just haven't moved this off of 0, 0. I mean, I could do that. Here, we'll move it way out here to the edge. See, it still rotates around that. Okay, so I'm modeling away, and I go, you know what? I really don't need this geometry right here. So I'm going to grab my edge. I'm going to double click because what I learned from Paul last week is double clicking selects the entire edge loop, right? It selects all. And I don't need that, so I'm just going to hit delete. Yay! I got rid of that edge, right? You know what these are now?
End guns.
They are all n-gons, because let me show you something. Here's vertexes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So all 4 of these, even though in object mode they look fine, they look like quads. If you select them in face, they look fine. But if you look at them as vertexes, we've got extra vertexes there, and we now have n-gons. Okay, so I'm going to undo my delete and show you how to go about this so that you don't end up with those hidden vertexes. Okay. Instead of just hitting delete, you're going to do edit mesh, delete edge vertex. And what this tool does is it will delete whatever edge you have selected, and then it'll look to see if there are any vertexes left behind that are not reporting to more than one face. Right? The point of having the vertexes is that they connect more than one face. And with an n-gon, it is a single face, but it has more than 4 vertexes. Right? So if I hit delete edge vertex, I get that same look, right? It looks exactly the same as it did before. As far as faces go, it's still a single face. But now if I look at vertexes, those ones that are around the center are gone. Because when it deleted it as part of the delete function, it looked at those and went, these aren't reporting anywhere other than right here. I don't need them. They're gone. Can you come in here and hit delete and have these vertexes there and then just kind of highlight them and hit delete? Yeah, absolutely. But why do the extra step? Well, you can just go delete edge vertex. Okay. Another thing is be careful that you're not deleting part of an edge loop. Oops, not what I needed. Come on, edge. You know, you're working along and you're like, I don't really need this edge right here. That'll be fine. And you even go edit mesh, delete edge vertex, as we just talked about. And these are fine, right? This is all good. This one in the center is beautiful. These 2 on the sides are now n-gons because they got these other edges leading into them. Okay, so if you need additional detail, you can either extrude more, you know, create some more geometry in there, or use the multicut. And you can, a lot of times you can use the multicut into the center of an object, and that will help create quads. So like we could take this edge and go into the center right here, and then down into the bottom. Let me show you. Edit mesh, mesh tool, excuse me, multicut. So I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go right into the center, and then down here, and enter. And now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I got to split some more. So you have to use, if you need to reduce the amount of geometry in an area, you have to look at it sort of analytically and figure out the best way to create that split. That may not have been the best choice. Let's see. Okay, we got to go from here, and we want to go to a corner. So where might we go? And that's, there's 4, 4. So we might need to do something else. We might need to come in here. This is the tricky part of modeling. Is figuring out how to go through. Whoa, Z, undo, undo, undo. But this is where multi-cut comes in, where you can, it's the handy thing where you can drop a vertex in the center of an object, like this, and like that, and then do another one that goes to here, into there, and then to here, into here, and there, and now we've got all quads there. We still haven't fixed this, but we'd have to just keep examining this and figuring out the best way to. It might be that we need to go with a triangle. We might need to throw a triangle in here. Oops. Delete. And if it's an area that's not going to deform, it may not be an issue. No, it's not ideal, but we could put a triangle up here and that would give us a quad. So we've got a triangle up here, we've got a quad down there, and we've removed this edge. It now no longer goes all the way around. The other way you can do it is, like I said, oops, let's escape, delete. No, stop. Is to just do another extrusion. Let's say we wanted something like this in the center of a face. We could select his faces. We want a shape that looks like this right up here in the top. Grab that, edit mesh, and extrude, and then grab our scaling tool, scale into the center, and there we go. See, so extrusions don't have to just go outward, they can also come in. And we can extrude again, and then pull this up, and we got like a little radio tower on top of a building or something. A very short version of the Empire State Building, specifically made for a King Kong that has short legs. We could extrude that again, and again scale it in, and then extrude again, pull it out. So the thing is, just be careful. Keep an eye on your geometry. Make sure that you're not creating n-gons. Make sure that if you remove geometry, you remove it in a way that doesn't create n-gons, that doesn't leave behind stray vertexes. There's just a number of things to be aware of. And keep in mind that at some point, everybody's going to create an n-gon. It's guaranteed. It's just going to happen. And when it does, I can help you sort it out, and we'll figure out a way to make it not an n-gon anymore. Okay? Any questions? We're all good? You have a question, Paul? You said you weren't going to talk that much tonight. You're right. I did say that. Oh, that's not right. Let's try that again. Whee! Okay. So this week's assignment. Oh, I didn't get it turned on. My bad. Turn that on right now. Not much to it, really. Show week. Basically, it says continue modeling. So keep working on building your set pieces and your character if you're making your own. So in addition to the three we talked about last week, the bridge and target weld are probably going to be the tools that will be the most functional for you as you move forward. But if you've got an interesting shape you need to make, the quad draw tool is really handy. You always want to make quads. Next time we're here, in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about adding surfaces to your models. whether that's a solid color or textures. We'll get into the details of how to do that. So in order to apply that information right away, it's a really great idea if you've got at least some of your geometry modeled by the next time you come, so that you can take what we're going to talk about and apply it immediately to what you're doing. Sound good? All right. Awesome. So, and I will get this uploaded, and so that you can